The Senate voted on Thursday to reject a proposal to give railway workers 7 days of sick leave, a benefit that was left out of a labor deal between freight rail companies and unionized workers that was brokered by the Biden administration. The proposal to give workers 7 days of sick leave, which was championed by Senator Bernie Sanders, independent from Vermont, and other liberal lawmakers, failed to pick up enough Republican support to overcome a 60 vote threshold set for adopting this measure and fell in a 52 to 43 vote. So, this is another bill that died despite getting a majority of senators to vote for it, thanks to the lovely and stupendous filibuster. 6 Republicans voted for the sick leave measure. Senators Mike Braun, Ted Cruz, Lindsey Graham, Josh Hawley, John Kennedy, and Marco Rubio. Senator Joe Manchin, Democrat of West Virginia, was the only Democrat to vote against the bill. Color me shocked. It passed the House on Wednesday with a narrow bipartisan majority, 221 to 207, with only 3 Republicans voting for it. Wow. After voting down the sick leave measure, the Senate voted to avert a costly nationwide rail strike next week. Senators voted 80 to 15 for a House passed bill to implement the labor agreement between freight rail carriers and unionized workers brokered by the Biden administration. The vote in the Senate and House now give Democrats the ability to blame Republicans for imposing a labor deal on rail workers that includes little flexibility for taking time off due to illness or doctor visits. This is not a radical idea, it's a very conservative idea. And it says you work in the rail industry, you will get 7 paid sick days. And I would hope that we would have strong support and 60 votes that we need to pass this very, very important amendment that is wanted by every one of the rail unions, Sanders said before the vote. Senator Elizabeth Warren, another leading liberal, that snake, predicted that nearly every single Democrat would vote for the additional sick leave and that it was up to Republicans whether it would be added to the labor deal. I think we'll get all the Democrats. The question is whether any Republicans will join us, she said. The right solution is that people don't have to come to work to try to operate trains after they've had heart attacks and broken legs. But right now, where we are is caught between shutting down the economy and getting enough Republicans to join us in making sure enough Republicans have access to sick leave, she added. Warren said there was frustration expressed at the Senate Democrat lunch with this multi-billion-dollar industry that has made money hand over fist and continues to treat workers like they're just widgets to get moved around. Railroads lobbied GOP senators to oppose the paid sick leave measure, arguing that congressional modifications to a contract would set a dangerous precedent unless Congress wants to become the de facto endgame for future negotiations. Any effort to put its thumb on the bargaining scale to artificially advantage either party or otherwise obstruct a swift resolution would be wholly irresponsible and risk a timely outcome to avoid significant economic harm, Association of American Railroad CEO Ian Jeffries said in the statement. God, these people just, I don't know what's wrong with them. Railroads have drawn the ire of workers and progressive lawmakers for refusing to offer paid sick days despite making record profits in recent years amid soaring demand for shipped products. The Senate also rejected the proposal sponsored by Senator Dan Sullivan, Republican of Alaska, to delay any potential strikes for 60 days to give railroad companies and unions more time to negotiate a deal. That proposal garnered the support of many Republicans, including Senator Susan Collins of Maine, an influential moderate. She said sending negotiations back to bargaining table would send a signal to both sides that we want them to solve this problem and not have Congress get involved in imposing a settlement that 4 of the 12 unions have rejected. Labor unions swiftly pushed back on the proposal. They noted that it would delay raises for workers and argued that railroads were not interested in negotiating further. So this article's almost over. I'm going to just go to the first part of this story that I think is really insane. And, every time there's a bill now and I see that it gets a majority of votes, I'm always left just really irritated knowing that if the filibuster was not there, it would pass. The dumbest part of this article is from the Association of American Railroad CEO, who says Unless Congress wants to become the de facto endgame for future negotiations, any effort to put its thumb on the bargaining scale to artificially advantage either party or otherwise obstruct a swift resolution would be wholly irresponsible and risk a timely outcome. So this is dumb because when there is something wrong with laws or with the way in which people are treated, you amend the law or you use the government to do something to protect the people. So we have child labor laws so that they don't have 10-year-olds working in sweatshops. Um, you have laws that give people, again, sick leave. I mean, the idea that somehow it's irresponsible for Congress in their democracy to say, look, we're gonna have a vote and we're gonna see if most people that have been elected by Americans all over the U.S. think there should be 7 paid sick leave days for railroad workers. I don't know how that's irresponsible. And if really the only part of this that's irresponsible is the fact that the bill passed, or excuse me, the bill got more approvals than down votes, but it didn't become a law or get past the Senate thanks to the lovely, wonderful, fantastic filibuster. That's probably the only part I would say was irresponsible. I was surprised by some of the people that voted for this. Um, I mean, getting Cruz and Graham, and I'm not as familiar with Rubio on economic stuff because I've never heard, I don't think I've ever heard him talk about railroads before, but 6 Republicans voted for this and Manchin didn't. And people want to sit here and talk about, we need Manchin because if we don't have him to pass things, we can't get stuff done. Imagine if for example, back in 2018, I'm forgetting who the candidate was, but let's say whoever the Republican was that ran against Manchin won, and then that Republican voted against this bill, just as Manchin did today. Then you would have no difference because Manchin voted with the Republicans against the Democratic bill. Like, I'll never understand the defenses for this guy. What is the point of Democrats having a Senate seat in West Virginia if the seat votes against them more than any other member of their own damn party in the Senate? God, and it's really disturbing to me how we're talking about giving people what is effectively a week and some change, because 5 days is a work week, so 7 is what, a week and almost a half, a little bit less than a half, 40% of a second week, giving them days where they can take off and get paid because they're sick and they can't come in because of the different injuries that they sustain doing this very dangerous work. And somehow you get the majority of Republican senators to vote against it and a Democrat. God, these people are as anti-worker, anti-union as they could possibly come. And like, what's even worse is that the people who voted for this stuff, like Cruz, like Graham, like Rubio, were more in line with the interest of workers than the actual Democrats. That's why I said this stuff doesn't make any sense. So I can't wait to go on Twitter and see people defend Manchin. Well, he had to vote against this so he could keep his seat. What a great joy he's doing for the people of West Virginia by denying their workers 7 days of being paid while sick. Yeah, he's really helping workers by voting down things that benefit them.